So today we're going to be talking about how the mainstream media uses its old sleight of hand magician's trick in order to keep your attention focused over here while what's actually going on is over here. So we're going to start with talking about the Epstein case because that's what's popular and what's in the news at the moment. Let's just get
News: the
started.
Republican-controlled House Rules Committee has just voted to block the release of the Epstein files. Joining us now, the member of Congress who forced that vote, Democratic Congressman Ro Khanna of California.
So this is all purely circus, and we know this. Back when the Epstein thing first started was during Trump's first term in, as I recall, 2019. So Trump had what was left of 2019, all of 2020, and a little bit into 2021 to get any of this done. But COVID happened, so sure, you could use that as a fair reason as to why nothing got done about it. But then the Democrats had 4 years when Biden took over in his administration. And as I recalled, they controlled all three branches of government at that time. I could be wrong, but as I recall, that's what happened. So nothing got done then. And now Trump has taken office again, and he campaigned on getting this Epstein thing all settled, and now nothing is happening. This is two wings of the same bird. We already know that Democrats and Republicans are on this list, and the big money interests that fund both parties are also on that list, as well as other members of foreign governments and royal families, allegedly, of course, but come on, we know. But let's just watch a little bit further, and we will see how this is just a show of circus.
Congressman, kind of give us the latest situation with the House Rules Committee.
Well, it's very disappointing. I had a very simple amendment that the full Epstein files should be released. It went for a vote to the House Rules Committee. Jim McGovern, who is the ranking member for House Democrats, made sure that all 4 Democrats voted for the release. Ralph Norman, a Republican, actually joined with the Democrats, saying that there should be a vote on the full release. Chip Roy didn't show up for the vote, but 7 other Republicans blocked it. So as of now, there is going to be no vote tomorrow, up or down vote on whether the Epstein files should be released.
And this was the first stage of your attempt to get a full vote by the House of Representatives, to see a full recorded vote. Everyone could see how their member of Congress voted on this issue.
Which is, of course, a good thing. I think that we really do need to have that happen more often, where every single bill that comes up, you can see who voted on it, which way. I think that that would actually be a great step in the first direction towards removing a lot of people who are making decisions that the people don't agree with. And we can start getting these people finally removed from their comfortable positions as career politicians. However, this is all just a show. We already know why this is getting struck down and why there's a very good chance this will never see the light of day. But this does need to happen, and we do need to keep pushing on it. You could make the argument of, oh, the bill didn't pass because they tacked on multiple things as they normally do. But we all know that that is just bogus. I believe it was Nancy Pelosi herself even said that in order to find out what's in a bill, you have to pass it, which is just absurd. And that's a whole different conversation about that not being okay and why people like that need to be removed from these positions. But we all know that that's really not what it was, because the government has been fine with wasting taxpayer dollars for as long as we've had taxes. This is just a classic show for the people. Behind closed doors, these people are all still friends, shaking hands. It's a big club, you're not in it. We already know that. We don't need to keep going over it. I do want to talk about, though, how there are multiple examples of media manipulation that have been done through the sleight of hand magician's trick over the years. Whenever that submarine nonsense was going on, that should have been a quick, yep, the guy who ordered the submarine wasn't listening to his engineers and it went under, but more and more minute-to-minute updates were being brought on that. What else was happening at the time during that? Because that should have just been a quick one-and-done story, but they kept pressing it. An easier example that I think you should be able to look back on, unless the powers that be somehow deleted it and hidden it. You know, Big Brother's always watching, and history is whatever they change it to be. But that's a whole different topic. During the Ghislaine Maxwell trials that happened years ago, back when the BLM mostly peaceful protests were happening, they would not even let a camera in the courtroom. The most we got was little snippets and tidbits that were released, a courtroom sketch here and there. Very little information was actually brought forth on that trial. And as I recall, she was put in prison for trafficking nobody to no one, which doesn't even make any sense. But meanwhile, the Kyle Rittenhouse case, we were getting minute-to-minute updates on what everybody who had common sense could see was clearly a clear-cut self-defense case. He was there to help, he was there to put out fires, and he was there to administer first aid if needed with what he knew, to my understanding. And people started attacking him because he was cleaning up the messes. And then he had to use some force to defend himself. We all saw the videos of what happened. It was a clear-cut self-defense case, and yet it was made into this massive big deal. Meanwhile, the Ghislaine Maxwell thing was going on, and we were hardly getting any information on that. I think this is a huge insult to the people's intelligence. I think this is a huge disrespect to the American people. And I think that we need to have a serious restructuring of our media sources and the misdirection they've had over the years from big money interests. I don't really blame the news anchor on this. He's not the one who signs his own paycheck. But regardless, there needs to be some kind of change, because what's happening right now isn't okay. It's a huge insult to the American people. And it's really only reinforcing the two-tier justice system, laws for thee, not for me, peasant, which is just not okay, and that's not the way that it should be. But regardless, I think that they're currently hiding this. Well, they're currently bringing this to the spotlight, which is basically giving us nothing. It's all just political circus to hide stuff like this. Now, not this specifically, and you can make the argument of, oh, well, they're not covering this because this is in Spain. But why is Sky News Australia covering this? I'm assuming they're in Australia, which is a different continent completely, because Spain is in Europe and Australia is literally its own continent, way over there in the southeastern part of the world. So why are they covering it? And why is this not being shown to the citizens of the United States of America? Why are they distracting us so much with this Epstein stuff?
The streets of Spain have devolved into chaos. Yes, the middle of summer should be heaven in Spain, but not this year. Locals are being terrorised by migrant gangs with reports of random acts of violence towards innocent local members of the community.
You see how they always say migrant? They never say what kind of migrant. They're being very selective with their language here. What kind of migrants are they?
The chaos started when an elderly local Spanish man was brutally beaten out of nowhere in Torre Pachato by a North African gang. This show of thuggery sparked outrage in the community, leading to a weekend of wild clashes between locals and migrant groups.
To be clear, the people rioting right now are the natives.
This Spanish commentator was outraged by the scene, saying, "This is happening in Murcia, Spain. Hundreds of armed migrants are attacking Spaniards just for being Spaniards."
Which is also not a problem. And this is also much of the frustration that is currently happening in a lot of Western society, whether it is Spain or the UK or Ireland or any of the Nordic countries, is that they are consistently being assaulted in various manners by these essentially guests, because they're migrants or refugees or whatever you want to call them, in their own home country, and the police aren't really doing anything about it. So of course there's a large amount of frustration there from the people, and of course this was going to erupt in some kind of violence. But I think the reason why that they're not showing this is because of this right here.
Police clashed with pro-Spain protesters outside a migrant center in Madrid.
They don't want the people to see this here in the United States. Now, keep in mind, the natives were doing as much damage as they were doing in defending themselves and going after migrants on their own without any weapons, because much of the world doesn't have the same Second Amendment preferences, your right to bear arms, nearly as much as Americans do. And I think that that's why they don't want the American people seeing this. Because let's just say, hypothetically speaking, that this kind of thing was happening in Detroit, Michigan. When I say this kind of thing,
clashed with pro-Spain protesters outside a migrant centre in Madrid after angry demonstrators took to the area following accusations of a Malian man raping a Spanish woman.
so I live in Michigan. If this happened in Detroit, Michigan, of migrants were coming into my state and they were assaulting in various ways the locals here, there would be more than a few people who would be willing to gather up their firearms, get in their trucks, the good old boys, so to speak, and go down there and start cleaning this up with vigilante justice, because the only reason that the natives are rioting is because the migrants, essentially guests in this country, are assaulting the natives through various methods, as it has been stated, and we've all read the news articles and all of that kind of stuff. So I think it's not this specifically, but it's stuff like this that they are not bringing to the immediate faces of the United States. Because this kind of stuff, I guarantee you, is happening here in the States, without a doubt in my mind. And if people really knew how bad it was, I think they would be angry enough to take up arms and start taking matters into their own hands. Obviously, vigilante justice is not okay, but when you are trying to be reasonable and you're trying to do things the right way and nothing is getting done, eventually you have to be unreasonable. I'm not saying we're there yet, but if things keep escalating and the governments and the police forces that are supposed to be protecting people and maintaining peace aren't doing that, it's simply an inevitability that's going to happen. But that's a whole different topic for a whole different day. Right now, we're just talking about the sleight of hand that the media does, and of how you are all smarter than that and you should not be manipulated by that. And I want better for each and every single one of you.